What's up, you guys? Thanks for tuning into the Melanin. This section is going to be called Crime and Cocktails. And let me tell you right now, you're definitely going to want a cocktail now and after because the story is crazy. So today's cocktail is an old classic, an old favorite, White Claw. This was more of a convenience. I didn't put too much thought in it because tomorrow's Easter and I'm actually hosting. So in a crunch, this is what was available. White Claw, pineapple, 100 calories, 2 carbs. So it's healthy. It gets you a little buzz. And I like them. So cheers.
So this wouldn't be Crime and Cocktails if we didn't have a cocktail to share with you. My drink of choice today is going to be the Crown Lemonade Whiskey. This is new for me. I just started trying these and they're good. Just like all the other Crowns in the cans. I'm feeling it. So go ahead and grab you a cocktail.
These cases that we're going to be talking about are always going to be of men and women of color because there's just not a lot of coverage. No one really talks about it, and the cases are outrageous. Like, so many are not getting justice. No one's fighting for them. They may not even know how to fight for themselves. But anyways, it's just not covered a lot. And with that being said, it is very hard to kind of actually even cover the cases because there's not a lot of info out there. But we're going to get into the story today of Jennifer Jeffley. She was born September 2nd, 1981. So she's kind of around the same age as a lot of us, give or take a few years. She's been in prison since she was 15. She is not even eligible to get out until she is 55 years old. She's been in there since 1996. Just to give a little background, her childhood, her mom was a single mom. She definitely grinded it out for her kids. They didn't really need for anything. They weren't wearing, Jordans, the name brand stuff, but they didn't really need for anything. Their mom grinded for them and made sure they had what they needed. She was always at work. The first bit of tragedy, I would say, started was when her oldest brother, came home from college to visit on one of those college breaks, and he goes to hang out with some friends at an arcade. Something goes down there and he ends up getting shot and killed. That happened in 1994. That was the first bit of tragedy. Not even bit of tragedy. I mean, a tragedy, for the mother, for the entire family. Come on now. So that happens in 94. And then that same year, they find out her other brother, has cancer. So the mom gets on super grind mode. She wants to make sure she's getting, the best health care for her son. She wants to move. She's asking doctors and stuff, where's the best place to go for healthcare? And they say Houston is a good place. So the mom starts getting her stuff together to try to get her job transferred to Houston, find a place in Houston. In the midst of her getting all this together, the son passes away the same year. So now she's 2 kids gone, in the same year. So I can't even imagine what the mother's going through, what the family's going through. The mother, being a mother, she still has to push through. She still has 3 kids that are dependent on her. So she decides to still move to Houston anyways, because now she definitely doesn't want to stay at that house. Memories of both of her kids gone, So they move to Houston. And Jennifer, our subject we're talking about, she, because she's moving schools, her birthday's already in September, so she's one of the kids that is the oldest in the grade, because her birthday's in September. So when they get to Houston, Houston's like, you missed a lot of school. Even though you're 15, you're still going to be in the 8th grade. So what the heck? Nobody's trying to hear that. So yeah, she's 15 in the 8th grade. She's a teenager though, you know. She's seeing other kids do things. The mom is always at work. So in the neighborhood, you know, she's trying to kind of fit in. There might be some kids probably smoking weed, who knows, but you know, you just trying to fit in, act like you already know about it, act like you've already done it, you know, just to seem like you're more experienced. But really, they were Jehovah's Witness, so they kind of were sheltered. They didn't experience a lot at school. They, you know, sometimes you have to, well, a lot of times you have to sit out. You can't participate on certain things when you're Jehovah's Witness, like around holidays and like even like some parties and pep rallies and stuff like that at school. You have to like sit those things out. So as her mom is gone at work all the time, they live in this new environment, this new apartment complex. She starts hanging out, just trying to fit in with other kids her age that are doing things. And that was when they first moved to Houston. Another thing, a tragedy happens. The apartment complex they move into catches fire. The bottom unit catches fire. They had to move out. They were on the top unit. I guess there might have been some damages there too. So they have to move out. They move to a new apartment complex. And this is where she meets a new set of people. So I'm going to let Stacy take over and get you guys into the next part.
So when Eva and her family moved to this new apartment complex, and they're introduced to these new group of people, and it's different. It's fast. Houston is fast. It's a big city, and for a 15-year-old that's kind of sheltered and hasn't, you know, been around a lot of that, it's new. It's interesting. It's intriguing. Like at 15, you're curious. So nevertheless, she gets, you know, involved hanging out with this new lady, Eva, who's 24 years old. Now, a 24-year-old ain't got no business hanging out with a 15-year-old. The only thing that needs to be happening in that relationship is you teach, you mentor her, you know, at that age, because come on, you don't want to call someone like that your friend. That's, you know, not your peer there. Well, she's introduced to Eva, and her mom, who has been working hard their whole life to support them, is never home. So you can imagine what happens when mom's not home. You're kind of doing whatever you want. And, you know, it's hard for Jennifer's mother to be like, look, you can't be doing this. You're grounded. And she's not there. So she quickly kind of gets swallowed into this lifestyle. And with Eva, I just don't think that she had the best intentions for her.
So yeah, Jennifer's mom works all the time. Jennifer's 15. My grandma always used to say, like, you're smelling your piss, little girl. Like, you know, you kind of start exploring. You kind of start thinking you're a little bit grown. You know, when you imagine 15, your parents ain't home. You're hanging out with a 24-year-old girl. Like, yeah. So Jennifer decides to spend the night at her 24-year-old friend's house with 2 other guys. She spends the night. In the morning, she gets a page. Back then, pagers, beep, beep. So she gets a page, and it's a family friend named George. So she walks down to a neighbor's house to call him back. She's chit-chatting it up with the neighbor. She calls George back. She talks to him for a little bit, calls back the neighbor, you know, hanging with the neighbor for a little while. And from there, she goes back to Eva's house. She has spent probably about 30 minutes or so with the neighbor. She goes back to Eva's house. This is morning time now. And Eva is like outside looking downstairs. And she's like, what's going on? And she was like, yeah, the lady down there. She's not okay. I don't think she's okay. And Jennifer looks down and she sees that the lady downstairs, an elderly woman in her 70s, the sliding glass door is off the track. She sees like a slipper outside. Definitely looks like something went on. So I guess Eva yells like, are you okay? And you can hear the lady yell like, yeah, I just hit my head or something like that. So Eva goes and gets like the maintenance man or the apartment manager to go check on the lady. And they're in there, they come in, they go in the apartment to check on the lady, and Jennifer goes in there too. They all go in there to kind of see what's going on. And that's when they see the neighbor dead. Lots of blood. Somebody had bashed a pot over her head or something because like a flower pot was broken. Again, lots of blood. Some purses were strewn about. Definitely a crime scene. So, they're like, okay, get out. We need to call the cops. That's when Eva takes Jennifer back upstairs and was like, hey, when the cops are going to come question you, tell them that you were with me the entire time. You didn't see nothing, and stick to that story. So Jennifer's not thinking nothing of it. She knows they didn't do nothing. So she's like, okay. So sure enough, she goes home. The cops come. She's 15, keep in mind. And in the state of Texas, if you commit a crime at 15, you can't be tried as an adult supposedly until you're 17. This was in 1996 in Texas. So the cops come, and Stacy's going to take it from here.
So the next day, Jennifer goes back home and she's under the care of her grandmother. And guess who shows up? You guessed it. It's the police. They want to come and ask Jennifer questions about, the murder. Well, Jennifer's grandma's like kind of, all right, that should be fine. You can ask her a question, but would it be okay if I came with you? And they're like, yeah, but we don't really have any room in the car. That's that bullshit already. Cause she's like, well, it's okay. I can drive my car. Just let me follow you. Let me grab my keys. I'll be right there. Nope, that doesn't happen. They just take off. They don't really want her there because they want to take advantage of Jennifer. Of course, right? They just want what they want at this point. So Jennifer's grandma, being new to Houston, has no idea where the police station is, doesn't know like where they're going to be holding her and questioning her. So she's just like, all right, I guess I'll just stay here and wait. She's with the police. She's got to be safe, right? That's what most people think. I don't be thinking that, but back in the 90s, that's what people thought. Well, lo and behold, they're taking her to the station. No adult present, and they are interrogating her. Jennifer's mom comes home, and to her surprise, she sees that Jennifer is not there, and the grandmother tells her, hey, she's at the police station. They're asking her questions. She just kind of fills her in, and she's like, wait, that's kind of weird. Let me call, and she gives her the card. Jennifer mom calls several times, and they're just like, everything is fine. We just have a few more questions to ask her. We're going to bring her home safe. Everything is going to be good. And, Jennifer mom all the while is like, hey, I need to be there with my kid. Whose parents wouldn't want to be there when they're being questioned about a murder? Come on, a murder? Oh, my goodness. Well, hours go by, and mind you, they're sitting there interrogating this child for more than 6 hours. And I think that it's against the law to be interrogated that long, and especially with no adult present or an attorney, any of that. And ignorance is not a defense, they say. But for her, it should have been, because they totally took advantage of her. Eva had already told her to lie. So she's sitting there trying to lie to them, and she tells 4 different stories. And those 4 different stories, they just pick the version they like the best, and they write it out how they want it to sound. And they trick her into signing it, basically, because she had been there for hours and she's under all kind of duress. So she just wants to go home. You're 15. Come on. That's never happened to you. You just want to go home. You've seen the Central Park 5. You see what happened to them and how they did them. They were doing that same bullshit. Same bullshit. So her thinking, I just want to go home. I just want them to stop questioning me. She signs that, and boom. They arrest her, and then they let her mom know when she calls, hey, she's not coming back home. She's going to jail for murder. Boom. That's like, what? Wait a minute. She's going to jail for murder? You said you were going to bring her home. No, she confessed to murder. What? Are you kidding me? craziness, right? So instead of the cops, like, maybe, I wonder if Eva and these other people that she talked about, I wonder what they had to do with the, like, I wonder if we should just maybe investigate that further. No, they got what they wanted. They got Jennifer to take the whole fall. And just like that, that's another yet adult taking advantage of Jennifer. And it's completely ridiculous. So I believe the legal age in Houston is 17 to be tried as an adult. But no, they went ahead and said, you know what, 15 is old enough for us today. So they charged Jennifer as an adult, and she goes to court, and she has a shit attorney. We know the story. Shit attorney that doesn't do anything to help her. Doesn't even talk to her, doesn't call any witnesses, none of that. We've heard this story before. He does nothing. And lo and behold, she gets convicted of murder because they have that confession, which they didn't even want to say, oh, well, she was 15. There was no, nothing. Nothing was done. And they just pretty much sentenced her to life, and she can get paroled after 40 years. 40 years. Currently, she's been in there 20 already, and she has to spend another 20 in there before she can even think about, getting out of prison for something she didn't even do. Does this sound right to you? Does this sound right? They give serial killers deals. They give serial killer deals just to find out, like, where'd you hide that body? And we'll only give you 15 years. Kidding me? But they want to sentence her to her whole life? And they didn't even want to go follow up and try to chase down the leads on the other ones? Ridiculous. That is not justice. That is not justice.
So my thoughts on who I think did it. Do I think Jennifer had a part in it? I do honestly think that she probably had a part in it. I mean, her fingerprints weren't found. Maybe she was like a lookout. My husband had a point. He was like, she was 15 hanging out with a 24-year-old. They had two dudes spend the night prior. Like, some fast things were going on. So I think maybe she got in a little bit too deep, trying to fit in, just going along with whatever they're doing. So I don't know. I feel like she's not all the way innocent. Now, do I think she actually stabbed the lady, hit her over the head, abused her? No. Was she even in the apartment? I don't know. I just feel like she's not all the way innocent. But for all those things that, happened during her trial, her appeal, for her lawyer, her, public defender to not do anything for her defense is terrible. For the cops to interrogate her without her, a guardian or somebody being around should not have been allowed. For her to even sign that confession and she didn't know what it was, that sucks. That to me is what I wish could be redone, because maybe she wouldn't get that much time. That's what I feel like. I feel like something needs to happen for the way that part went down. They need to be held accountable. Those cops, they zoomed off on the granny. She was trying to ride down there and be with her, They kept playing the mom on the phone saying, oh, we'll get her home in 30 minutes. They were playing that right there is why I think she needs a redo. And at this point, she's been in there for over 20 years. I think she's served her time, and they really need to pursue who actually committed the crime.
So my theory on this case is that the adults involved took complete advantage of Jennifer. The Eva and the two guys that actually committed the murder, they took advantage of her. They just thought, you know what, she's a child. She's never going to get convicted of this crime. But if we commit this crime and we get caught, we're going straight to jail. We're gonna be in prison. So let's just let her take the fall and she'll be out. Nothing's going to happen to her. So they just used her. And the police officers just used her to close the case. They didn't care who did it. They wanted somebody and they chose her. Now, how you take advantage of a 15-year-old, I don't know. I don't even know how they sleep at night. These kind of cases, keep me up at night because it's hard to imagine people being in prison that are completely innocent. But, it definitely happens to people of color all the time, and no one bats an eye. But you know what? Not me. That's just something that, I want to know, and to me, this never should have happened. That could have been any of us at 15, you're just one bad choice away from being behind bars. You never know, what kind of situation you're going to be in. So for me, she needs justice. She needs justice. There's just no way she should be behind bars at this point.
So shout out to you for staying through to the whole video. That was a picture of what Jennifer Jeffley looks like today. We want to know what your thoughts are. Do you think she did it? Do you think she'll ever get justice? Or do you think she'll actually have to stay in there until she turns 55 years old and finally goes up for parole? Please let us know what you think in the comments. Do not forget to like and please subscribe so you can continue to get notifications on all our other videos to come. Thanks for tuning in and thanks for rocking with the melanin.